our friend from the Ringer, one of our favorites, certainly talking about who's coming to the next level in the upcoming NFL draft. And college football is white hot to the touch right now. Standing there on the set of the McShay Show, which is a Spotify podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, the NFL draft analyst for the Ringer, Todd McShay here. Good to see you, Todd. How are you, bud?
Hey, Rich. How you doing, man?
Good to see you. Good to see you as well. Let's just jump straight into this right now, man. When you see Phillip Rivers starting, what goes through your mind as an evaluator about the state of quarterbacking in the NFL? Todd.
It feels like every year there's an additive property, right? From college to the NFL. And we saw just a couple of years ago, 6 quarterbacks drafted in the top 12 and they've had in various states of success. And we saw a few struggle as rookies that are bouncing back as second-year players. Obviously, Jaden Daniels taking a step back with the injuries this year. Mm-hmm. Caleb Williams taking a step up. Drake May continuing to ascend and playing close to MVP status. And Bo Nix now with a 2-loss Denver team. So there's a lot of positives. And I feel like I know the quarterback play keeps getting better and better. And I think it goes down to like the 7-on-7s and the high school development into college and moving on to the NFL. But is the development where it needs to be? And are quarterbacks coming in and are they ready all the time? And we saw, and also the organizations drafting these quarterbacks. I mean, I'm looking at the draft order now again, Rich.
Yep.
And it's the Giants, the Raiders, the Titans, the Browns, the Jets, if the draft were headed today. Don't you feel like every year we're meeting around this time and we're talking about the same teams in the top 10 in terms of the draft order?
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Organizationally, are they equipped with the supporting cast, with management, with coaching to develop some of these young quarterbacks? And I think falling to a team like Denver at the 12th pick was the best thing that could have happened to Bo Nix. What would his career look like if he was drafted by the Jets or the Browns? I mean, that's a question that we have to ask ourselves every single year.
That's the nature versus nurture, right? But I'm talking about, in a sport where everybody's, as you point out, even the 32 are still sometimes in a riptide looking for their first string quarterback, that there's hardly any depth, right? I mean, the depth is occupied by backups in the league, and how well are NFL teams equipped to develop those backups and third string quarterbacks when the practice limitations and practicing with the first team. So we could do a whole 5-hour series on the most important position in sports and how we're handcuffing the development of these players. But I will say, this year's crop doesn't look great because we got a lot of guys that are deciding to go back to school, and we got a handful of guys who, quite frankly, just didn't play to the level this year. I thought Garrett Nussmeier from LSU was going to have a big year, be a top 10 pick. Wasn't the case, dealt with injuries all year long. Cade Klubnik took a step back at Clemson. Drew Aller took several steps back from his performance at Penn State. And so we're left with a class now where Fernando Mendoza looks like potentially the number 1 overall pick, coming off of the Heisman, phenomenal season, has all the traits. Now we enter the college football playoff, and we've got 2 quarterbacks that, if they make a run and things end well, with some uncertainty with coaching staff situations, in Dante Moore at Oregon with his offensive coordinator taking the head coaching job at Kentucky and Will Stein, and with whatever seemingly is going on with Caleb DeBoer and with Alabama. Do they make a long run, Oregon and Alabama? Ty Simpson is the Alabama quarterback who could be a first-round pick, but is only a 1-year starter, entering into his 14th start. And Moore had 5 starts in 2023 at UCLA before taking a sabbatical year and having a breakout year under Will Stein at Oregon this year. So 2 inexperienced but really talented quarterbacks that could be first-round picks this year, and would be probably a year from now if they had great years. But everyone's looking and saying, you know what, maybe I buck the trend and go into the NFL as an inexperienced quarterback versus being part of that group next year that could have Arch and Lenora Sellers and could have Julian Sayin and could have a DJ Lagway off of a transfer portal and all these other, Sam Levitt, Jaden Maeva. I mean, there's so many quarterbacks for next year. It's shaping up 2027 to be one of the best quarterback classes ever. And so do we want to put our hat in that ring,
or leave school with inexperience and test our luck in the NFL, because we know we're going to get that 35 to 39 million guaranteed over a 5-year span and speed up that second contract.
Well, we already know what the New York Jets think about it, Todd McShay, because they told the Dallas Cowboys, give us our second one for Quinnen Williams in 2027. So clearly they are looking at the quarterback class and potentially not even thinking about 2026. Who the heck knows? Todd McShay, the McShay Show podcast, as well as The Ringer.
I don't mean to cut you off, but we also saw...
I'm just trying to reset you. I'm just trying to reset you.
No, I got you. I'm all worked up. I get it. But we saw, like, Les Snead isn't an idiot. Like, he made a smart move to move out of the first round last year because he had an aging quarterback who's played better than most people expected this year and doesn't look like he's anywhere close to the end necessarily in Matthew Stafford. And so they made an organizational decision to, let's trade out and get a first-round pick next year, because there is Nussmeier and maybe Arch is ready, and there is Klubnik and Aller and all these other guys, and Lenora Sellers. And now it's being pushed back a year. So now we're looking at a top 10 right now with Cleveland at 4 and 2 first-round picks, Jets at 5 with 2 first-round picks, and the Rams with their trade from Atlanta, who traded up to get their pass rusher last year, their linebacker, and those 3 organizations are in the top 10 needing a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
And so you wonder, one team is going to get Mendoza. Dante Moore and Ty Simpson are, I would say right now, it's more likely they're not in the 2026 draft than they are in the 2026 draft. And so could we see teams trying to move out to try to get involved and get extra ammunition next year in 2027, when a lot of organizations in the league thought this was going to be a great year too?
Well, I mean, speaking on behalf of what I covet when I see, if the Jets snag Caleb Downs 5th overall, that's not a shabby consolation prize for being at the top of a non-quarterback draft. But Todd McShay again of The Ringer here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about Fernando Mendoza and his abilities and how it translates to the next level, and whether you think he would be a worthy. And listen, Raiders fans are eager to see if their quarterback problem can be solved at the top of next year's draft. What do you think, Todd?
I feel like I was first one in on Mendoza potentially being a first-round prospect last July, and last one in on. Yeah, he should be the first overall pick for a team that's moving up to get the top quarterback in the class. The reason I say that is I loved his Cal tape, and I didn't expect to. I didn't know a whole lot about him, right? I knew he was transferring to Indiana, made the decision, you know what, let's dive in. It's July. What else do we have to do? And when I was done with the tape, I saw the turnovers. I saw the turnover-worthy plays. I saw the inexperience in his game. I saw some of the panic when pressure came. Excuse me, But I was hopeful in this new system with Kirk Cignetti and their offensive staff that he would fit in well, because it was, basically Curtis Rourke a year ago, late round draft pick, excelled in it and didn't have mobility to start with and had the injury as well. But I just started to imagine we got the 6'5", 220-pounder with mobility, with a better arm, with kind of some traits in terms of throwing off platform and extending and creating. If they can teach him to play within the system and do the little things right, and to kind of dial back some of those turnover-worthy plays and mistakes that he was making at Cal, this guy could be a really high pick, and he could be a really good NFL player. Early in the season, I saw a little bit more robotic than expected, but there were moments, and there was a lot of road moments, clutch situations, talking about Oregon. Didn't play great for a large portion of that game, but in the end, when they needed him, he was there. Iowa, same thing. Then the Penn State leading them back late in that game without their number one receiver, Elijah Surratt, who's going to be probably a day 2 draft pick. And so you start stacking those things. But in the back of my mind, I want to see him against Ohio State. We're talking about this Ohio State defense like historically, like 2001 Miami, and like some of the USC with like Malaluga and Cushing and all those guys, and Alabama and some of their great defenses, and Georgia more recently. We're talking about Ohio State as one of this defense as like one of those. How does he perform against them? And it wasn't all beautiful, but the throws he made
yeah.
on time, NFL, mobility extending. How about the toughness, man?
He took a shot to start the game, man. I thought he was going to be blue tinted, or if not, then just mentally wrapped for the rest of the day. And he was awesome. I loved it.
He was awesome. And then to make that throw on, late in the game down the right rail.
Unreal.
I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I'm good.
Yeah. I saw that too.
And I love that he's quirky. I love, you said Kurt Warner on. He's like kind of a mix between Kurt Warner and Kirk Cousins. Yeah. And he's different. And that's good because you know what? He knows who he is. And he's completely unapologetically himself. And I think that's an important thing that we overlook a lot of times with these quarterbacks. Do they know themselves? Are they mature enough to handle what's about to come to them as a starting quarterback in the NFL?
Heck yeah. Fluent in Spanish. He's perfect for our multicultural world. I think he's
already ours, huh?
No, I'm telling you, I think he is really good. Second overall pick to the Raiders. Because again, I don't know how the top 5 is going to play out. So walk me through who else would be sitting there. Because we had our buddy Daniel Jeremiah on a few weeks ago. And he's like, I can't tell you who's first overall in this draft. Could you? Todd?
I hate to say this as we get ready to embark on the 2026 draft process.
Yes, sir.
It's not a great top 10 in terms of what we're used to, right? With the elite offensive tackles and pass rushers. There's a lot of good ones. And there's a lot of really great players. Like you mentioned Caleb Downs. Phenomenal football player, as smart as he is gifted. And some of the things he does on the field are remarkable, right? But he's a safety. And we saw Kyle Hamilton didn't run a great 40 time, and where he falls to, 12 overall or somewhere in that range, falls out of the top 10 to the Ravens. So where does he go? Arvell Reese on that same defense. Absolutely. He's different than everyone I've watched in this class so far. From a tool standpoint, he's long, tall, powerful, athletic, can run. And the thing that I'm kind of holding on to with him is he can be an edge rusher, not just an off-the-ball linebacker. But do NFL teams view him as someone who's a legitimate, is this like a Micah Parsons thing? Or is he's an off-the-ball linebacker that we can utilize in some situations as an edge rusher? So those are maybe the two best football players in the entire class, but it's an off-ball linebacker and a safety. And so you look at the rest of this class and it's, and the third best player in this class, Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame. He's a running back.
Yep. He just said he's coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a different class in that the positions of value are not the best players this year. So I'm looking at that number 1 overall pick, and I think I have it right. Is it the Giants right now, if the draft were held right now,
yes, sir,
would have it? I would love to have that first pick, because if it's only Mendoza, or even if it's Mendoza and let's say Moore, but not Simpson, teams are going to be clamoring to go up and get that pick ahead of the Raiders. And now you're setting yourself up. Like, I love Jackson Dart. I was the biggest backer of Jackson Dart, coming into the draft last year. And I like a lot of the things I saw, but if you're worried the durability, is he going to hold up 5 times now with the head stuff? You say, all right, well, let's take this pick and move back. Let's give Jackson another year. Let's get an additional pick next year in case we're in a situation where we say, you know what, we need to press reset on quarterback. So whoever has that first pick, knowing it's not just quarterbacks next year, it's wide receivers and several other positions. It's got a chance to be one of the best drafts we've ever covered, Rich. And so I think a team that's picking at 1 that doesn't have a quarterback need winds up winning this draft.
Todd McShay, a few minutes left with him here on the Rich Eisen Show. You want to take a shot at the college football playoffs? What do you think? What you're seeing?
I'm intrigued by a few things, right? I can't. I went to University of Richmond. I should love the underdog. I can't stand the fact that we have 2 group of 5 programs in there. But that aside, I think if you look back at last year, it was experienced quarterback with a running game, great defense. That's what, you talk about Notre Dame, Ohio State got all the way there, and Ohio State wins it.
Mm-hmm.
I look at, and I know, first of all, Miami is one of those teams that I would be very wary of, because I think if I was an opponent, they've got two of those three qualities, the defense and the most experienced quarterback in the entire playoff. He's got 2,881 snaps, Carson Beck does. So while I love Texas A&M and what they've done this year, I think Miami's a live dog in that game, and I could see them giving Ohio State a lot of trouble as well in that second round game. But I think Georgia is a team to really watch out for. I think Georgia, the way they finished the season, inexperienced at quarterback compared to some of these other guys, but Gunnar Stockton has played at a level that I don't think any of us expected him to play this year. And I think with that defense getting better and better, so I kind of like Georgia to win the whole thing. Indiana should win it based off of what we've seen, but it's tough to go win the Big Ten championship and then to make a run in the college football playoff. Give me Georgia to win the whole thing, and give me Miami to make a little bit of a longer run than people might think.
Okay. And you got 2 cents on who my alma mater should target? If you tell me who I would be most happy with out of the possibles right now.
I know all the big names, right? And it starts with DeBoer and what's going on there in Tuscaloosa. Let me just throw this out randomly.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you have Brian Griese involved in some of this in some way, shape, or form?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm all ears. Keep going.
He might be the smartest football person I've ever been around. Okay. And I've been around a lot, very fortunate to be around a lot of the elites of the elite. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And his passion runs really deep, obviously. Brought the first national championship to Michigan in over 50 something years or whatever it was. And I just think he is the character and is the type of person. I'm not saying necessarily maybe as head coach, but I'm saying you might want to get Brian Griese involved in this process. Whether it's administration, athletic director, offensive coordinator. I think this program needs someone like Brian, who's it runs deep in his veins, the highest character human being you could ever come up with, along with one of the smartest football people that are out there and could be a possibility. I'm just throwing that name out there.
I'll be honest with you. I'm on a handful of text chains during Michigan games, or not, with a whole bunch of Michigan friends of mine. On one of them, we were going back and forth. Why isn't Brian Griese even reached out to talk to Underwood? Give him 2 cents. Bring him on the staff. Give him whatever he needs to be the quarterback coach, or for the lack of a better phrase.
I promise you, I know you care about Michigan. And my grandfather, Marshall Brown, worked with Bo Schembechler and was an area recruiter in the Sandusky area in Ohio. I grew up bleeding maize and blue. It was just kind of ingrained in me. Honestly, it's why I have such a passion for football. It's where it started.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to the Michigan man and the importance, and there are certain people who just embody everything you're looking for. I think Brian is someone, and I'm not speaking for Brian at all. Sure. I'm just saying that's someone, if I was in a situation where it's kind of like circle the wagons, let's get the people in that really believe and have the passion and it's deep inside them. That's a guy that I would get involved in this process some way.
Okay, but any other names of, I guess, conventional head coaches you want to throw out there that I'd be happy with? Do you think?
I'm just curious on the whole DeBoer thing,
mm-hmm.
Because something's going on in Alabama and you can see it in the product of the field. And I don't know if it's just a long SEC season or it doesn't feel like Brian Kelly at LSU. When I'm talking to people there that are very much in the know and around the program, it feels like an underswell of something's happening. So I'm curious if that's from both sides or if it's just frustration because Alabama's gotten spoiled.
All right.
I've heard, Dillingham. I've heard Jed Fish. I've heard all of the same names. It seems like they've kind of targeted who they're going after. I would just be I think you're at a junction as a program right now, where it needs to be someone that can come in and get a foundation rebuilt or establish the what the foundation has been prior to what's gone on in recent years. I think there needs to be as much emphasis on that as there is on just the football program.
All right, man. You're the best. Thanks for the time, man. I appreciate it.
I appreciate
that knowledge. And for the rest, I'll ask Jimmy Sexton. Right, Todd?
I mean, is there a more powerful man in any sport at any level than Sexton is in college football right now? It's wild.
We'll pull
Follow the tea leaves. He's gotten a lot of people. Penn State made a lot of people rich with the way he did this throughout that process.
And they wound out with Matt Campbell anyway, which is an outstanding
phenomenal hire.
I
mean, and that wasn't even there's a whole story on that. That's not even it. That's the president kind of stepping into a conversation that nobody expected, and there were wrong email addresses and like couldn't have been bungled more, but it all worked out. But I was told it was like almost $370 million that Sexton did this with Penn State to get other coaches and cost other programs around the country during that process.
That's commerce, that's for sure. Todd, thanks again, brother. Look out for more of my calls and texts. Appreciate it.
You got it, my man. Look forward to it.
Have a great holiday season. We'll talk maybe in the new year. That's Todd McShay, everybody, of The Ringer. Everybody check out his pod. And, of course, everything that he's got to say wherever you follow Todd McShay and The Ringer. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.